So, let's talk about something that sounds simple, but, well, it's really not. What is Judaism? It's a huge question, so let's just dive right in. And right off the bat, you run into a problem. We love our little boxes, right? Is it a religion, an ethnicity, a way of life? The thing is, Judaism doesn't really fit neatly into any of them. I mean, we're talking about a tradition that's almost 4,000 years old. It existed way before we even came up with these modern labels. So, how in the world do we get our heads around it then? Well, there's this really brilliant way of thinking about it from Rabbi David Wolpe. He suggests we think of it as a religious family. And when you think about it, that makes so much sense, doesn't it? You're born into a family, right? But you can also join a family. You share stories, you share a history, a sense of destiny together. Honestly, this one idea, it's the key that unlocks everything else we're going to talk about. Okay, so let's stick with that idea of a family. It's really the best way to grasp why those simple labels we tried, religion, race, they just fall short. It's more about being a people. This deep, shared sense of belonging to a group with a common story and a common future. And this is where it gets really interesting, where we can see why those labels just break down. So on one hand, it's not just a religion, because you can be a total atheist and still be considered fully 100% Jewish. Belief in God isn't like a membership requirement for being in the family. But then it's also not a race, because a person from any background can choose to join the Jewish people through conversion. See? It's a family you can be born into, or one you can choose to join. And then you have this symbol, which almost everyone recognizes. The Star of David is so much more than just a religious icon. It's really a symbol of this entire people, this global family. It represents a connection that goes way beyond borders, or what language you speak, or even what you personally believe. Okay, so if it's a family, every family has an origin story, right? So where did this one begin? Well, for that, we've got to travel way, way back in time, nearly 4,000 years ago to the ancient Middle East. The story really kicks off with a man named Abraham. He's seen as the father of the Jewish people, and he makes this special deal, this covenant with God. Fast forward a few centuries, and you get to Moses. He's the one who leads Abraham's descendants, the Israelites, out of slavery in Egypt. And then comes this pivotal moment. At Mount Sinai, Moses receives the Torah. This becomes the guide, the foundational text for this family forever. Now, that covenant, it leads to this idea of the chosen people. And let's be real, this is a term that gets misunderstood all the time. It's not about being better than anyone else or being God's favorite. In Jewish thought, it's about being chosen for a special responsibility, a mission, really. The mission to live an ethical life and be a moral example. It's a duty, not a claim of being superior. Okay, so we've got the family, the origin story, and the special mission. But every family has rules, right? Or at least a guide for how to live. So what's the instruction manual here? Well, that would be the Torah. And here's something that might blow your mind a little. We've all heard of the 10 Commandments, right? Well, get this. The Torah actually has 613 of them. They're called mitzvot. And these aren't just big philosophical ideas. They are specific guidelines for pretty much every part of life. How you treat people, how you pray, even what you eat. And the Torah itself, the physical object, is treated with such incredible reverence. We're not just talking about a regular printed book. In synagogues, the Torah is a huge scroll, and every single letter is handwritten by a special scribe on parchment. It's a work of art, and that's the actual scroll they read from during services, like at a bar mitzvah, which is the ceremony where a young person becomes a religious adult. The reverence is so deep, in fact, that you're not even supposed to touch the parchment with your fingers. It's considered that secret. So to keep your place while reading, you use a special pointer. It's called a yad, which, fun fact, is the Hebrew word for hand. So you use a little hand to point at the text. So you see, these ancient laws and stories aren't just dusty old history. They create a living, breathing rhythm to life. A rhythm that's marked by sacred moments, both in the small scale of the week and the grand scale of the year. And the heartbeat of that weekly rhythm, that is Shabbat, the Sabbath. It's this incredible 25-hour period from Friday sunset to Saturday night where you just stop. You unplug. No work, no phones, no running errands. It's all about resting, connecting with family and community, and just recharging your soul. And a huge part of Shabbat is gathering together. The traditional Friday night meal is a big deal. It often kicks off with blessings over wine and this beautiful braided bread called challah. It's just this warm, delicious, tangible symbol of the whole experience.
So that's the weekly rhythm. Then you have the annual one, which is built around these major holidays. There's Passover, which is all about celebrating freedom from slavery. Rosh Hashanah is the Jewish New Year, a time to reflect. Yom Kippur is the Day of Atonement. It's the most serious, holy day of the year, marked by fasting. And of course, there's Hanukkah, the Festival of Lights, which celebrates religious freedom.
Now, this is super important. A 4,000-year-old family is going to have a lot of different members, right? It's not a monolith. Just like any big, old family, there are different branches, and they all have slightly different ways of doing things and approaching their shared heritage. So, to get a handle on it, let's look at two of the main streams today. You've got Orthodox Judaism, which holds to a more traditional interpretation of Jewish law. For instance, in Orthodox Judaism, Jewish identity is passed down through the mother. Then you have Reform Judaism, which started back in the 1800s. It sees Jewish law more as a set of guidelines that can be adapted for modern times. So for them, a child can be Jewish if either of their parents is Jewish, as long as they're raised in the tradition. So let's bring it all back to that family idea. It really comes down to this. There are two main ways you can be a member of the Jewish people. You can be born into the family. Traditionally, that means being born to a Jewish mother. Or you can choose to join the family through a whole process of study and conversion. Either way, you're considered a full member. And that's really the heart of it. Judaism is the ongoing story of this incredible 4,000-year-old family, a people that has shown just unbelievable resilience, adapting and evolving through so much history. And that leaves us with a really powerful question to think about, doesn't it? For a family with such an ancient, complex past, what does the future hold? What will its journey look like? What's it going to mean to be part of this family 100 years from now, or even 1,000?